Welcome back to Loon's Leaves, y'all. Today we're going to be talking about my living wall. All right, y'all, I'm going to talk about my living wall. So I got the idea for this wall about a year ago today. I think I ordered the pots for it off of Amazon. So it has been installed in our home for a year now. And not all of the plants within the vessels on the wall are original plants that I planted a year ago, but most of them are. So I'll get into talking about that in a second. I'm also going to talk about the planter itself, so if you want to skip ahead to that part, that's fine too. They are from Amazon. They are 7-inch pots. You get 7 in a set. So they come as a set of 7. There's only 6 on this wall now. We have the 7th one somewhere else in our home. And they are $37.50 for the 7-inch pots. Lots of 7s in there. But very affordable, and it was one of the only ways that I could attain a living wall in our house without it being astronomically expensive, having to purchase lots of plants, hydroponic systems, and things like that. Now, granted, this is not the most lush and lavish living wall that you could probably install in your home, and it isn't as inconspicuous as you might want. You can still see the containers, but my hope is as the plants start to grow out, those containers will get more and more covered up, and it will look like more of a living wall that you might be used to seeing. So, very affordable way of kind of installing this in our house without having to do all of that extra work with hydroponics and spend a lot of money. So to get onto the wall, the first plant in the very top planter over here is one of the original plants. It has kind of started vining over the next 2 planters, which is great in a way because it's covering up its original planter almost entirely. But it also is starting to get in the way of some of the other plants and shading them out a bit. So if you do install a living wall, make sure you're checking on those plants and making sure they're not getting shaded out by some of the bigger plants. That is why, and I'll get into it in a little bit, why some of the plants on the wall did fail, because some of these bigger ones shaded them out, and that just means blocked their sunlight, and they kind of failed to survive. So a big pothos on here is one of the original plants. And then this big pothos is the other half of that pothos. So it was just a huge pothos plant that I had already had, which is another way you can save money. If you just want to relocate plants that you already have, just break them apart if they're easily separated, or just put them in these pots as they are, and then you can hang them on their wall. So not only is it a great space saver if you have a smaller apartment or smaller living space, or just want a little green on your walls, but it's a great way to kind of use plants you already have. You don't have to purchase any special plants for these types of wall planters. On the wall next to that one, at the very top, which is getting cut off by the viewfinder a little bit, is a peperomia. It's a variegated peperomia, and that is new to the wall within the last month. So there was a spider plant in there that was getting shaded out. It had not died, but it was getting shaded out by some of the other plants, and so I decided to move around the wall, which is another thing that is really great about these planters, is you can move them around. There's no anchoring them to the wall and having them stay there permanently unless you want them to be anchored permanently. So I have them set up on a system, and I'll show you that in a little bit. But the spider plant was getting shaded out. The peperomia is a little bit more hardy, and it stands up a little bit more, dare I say, erect, so it can, or straight, so that way it's not going to kind of vine over. I wanted a plant at the top there that was going to grow upwards instead of vining over, so that way it didn't shade out the plant right here, the syngonium. So this syngonium is also one of the original plants to the wall. She's going to come off there for a second. The syngonium is another original plant to the wall. She's part of a syngonium that was a bit bigger, and then I separated that syngonium into 2. One of the syngoniums is in our bedroom, potted in a regular pot, and then the other half got placed on the wall here. So, pothos, syngonium, all original to the wall. All the rest are new. So the peperomia is new, replaced the spider plant. This is a marble queen pothos back here. It's getting slightly shaded out, so I'm a bit worried about it. I do keep a pretty good eye on it, and as you can see, she's kind of making her own way over here and growing over to where the syngonium is, because the syngonium isn't going to vine the same way that the pothos does. So she's kind of pushing through on this side and coming out and vining over here. I'm a little worried about this side over here just because this guy is so long and lush, but I'm sure she'll be fine. She replaced a fern that was on the wall, and some of the ferns, so I had the spider plant and the 2 ferns originally, and they did not do well because they got shaded out, and I don't think they were in a humid enough space, and I don't think they were getting enough sunlight for where they are. So as you can see, this is pretty well naturally lit. This is late afternoon, so it's even brighter than this at some points, but some of the plants just don't really do well over here, and the humidity isn't as high. I now have a humidifier just for this spot because I also have, I don't think you can see her, here's her top leaf. My monstera has moved over to this corner and is slowly kind of crawling up the wall as well. I do have a humidifier over in this spot that was not here before. So the other 2 ferns died off. The other one, which was a bird's nest fern, died, has now been replaced by this philodendron Brazil. Both the marble queen pothos and the philodendron Brazil have been on the wall for about the last 6 months or so and have been doing pretty well. Again, not much growth on the philodendron Brazil, but she's not really doing poorly either. So everybody's doing pretty good as of now on the living wall, and I think that they're finally in a good spot for me feeling confident enough to leave them on the wall. I think all the plants that I have chosen are hardy enough, easy enough to care for, where if I forget about them for a little while, a couple of weeks, then they will survive and be fine. They can handle this much lighting that's coming in. Now that we have the humidifier set up, I feel a little bit better about the whole wall setup in general. And I will throw up some comparison pictures in a little while so you can see the beginnings of the wall and then the end of the wall, and it has really started to fill out beautifully. So for the rest of the video, I'm going to sit a little lower so that way the shot's a little neater, and then I will show you the planter itself and kind of discuss some transitions that happened throughout the wall. All right, so as you can see, this is a little bit of an awkward kind of corner in our house. This wall here, and these are the 2 bottom planters of the living wall, is only about 2.5 feet across, and then it's our kitchen, so it encloses like a little pantry closet that our apartment came with, and then we usually have our couch here where I'm sitting, so that way we're facing our television, and so I push the couch out so I can sit back here. Sorry, my dog just ran into the tripod, so sorry if it shook a little bit there. And then as I talked about before, this is my Monstera deliciosa, which has moved from a far corner in our home to back over here where it's getting some better sunlight. And as you can see, it's kind of starting with this aerial root to kind of creep up the wall a little bit. So it also fills out this entire wall from floor to ceiling a little bit more with green, which I think makes it look more like a living wall and a bit more full, which I am obsessed with. So to talk about the planters and how they're anchored to the wall. As I said before, they are 7-inch planters. They are $37.50 US dollars, and then you get a set of 7 of them in that pack that you order from Amazon. So pretty darn affordable for something of this size. I mean, this is a pretty decent size planter. This is one of the planters from another part of our home. So it comes with a pack of 7. There's only 6 on the living wall because I thought it would look weird with an odd number. And so this hangs on the wall of our bedroom. This is a jade plant that's a little too small for this planter actually, but he needed a new home. And these come apart in 2 sections. So there's the white section, which I really like, and then that is not even really the planter. You have this part, and it's a little gross in here. The black planter, which I have a second piece of, so I'll show you that. They send you an extra one. And it has this string that hangs down. They give you this cord, and this cord kind of brings water up from the bottom of the planter and slowly feeds your plant, so you don't have to water them as much, which is great for the hanging purposes, because if you're putting them on a wall and you want them up higher, you don't have to hike up onto a chair or a ladder every single time you need to water them. So I've gotten in the habit and have chosen plants that don't need as much care and as much water, and have learned that throughout the process, as you guys heard with the ferns that were on the wall. About halfway through, I did put a group of string of pearls and ivy on the wall, which I'll show pictures of. So I'll show a picture now of how the wall started out, and you can see how kind of sparse it started with the several ferns, and the pothos were pretty much what we're filling it out at the time. Then I'll insert a picture of the midway point, which kind of transitioned out a few plants, and I had the string of pearls and some ivy in the same planter, and they didn't do as well on the wall, so they got moved to new locations. And then a picture of this kind of final setup for now that I have going on, which I think is working so far the best for us, and has been working for the past 3 months swimmingly. The plants that are on here have been doing really well. I think they're hardy enough to survive, and I'm really excited to see where they'll be another year from now, and hopefully the wall will be more filled out. So back to the planter, the white section and the black section, and then the slow kind of watering string comes with it. This is what the centerpiece looks like. It comes with an extra one of these. I'm not sure why, I guess in case you break one or you want to set up another plant this way. But it's great for demonstrating what they look like. So it has these kind of slits on the side where it can get water from and kind of aerate the plant. And then it has some holes on the bottom, and you can see there's 2 bigger ones where that cord will hang through and then slowly water the plant. So the black inside casing, if I put them side by side, is a little shorter. So you can have a bit of water in the bottom here, and then that cord will slowly bring it up. I water these from top side, but you could fill the bottoms and then replace this back in when you're done and have it slowly feed your plant. I just found that after a couple weeks, it was a big hassle because I get up on a chair and take these. I used to take them all off the wall, fill that white part, and then put them all back on the wall. And that just got to be a lot of work. And it's not that big of a deal if you're very, very into your living wall. But for me, anything to cut down a little bit of plant care is gonna help. And I'll be honest, I'm a lazy plant mom sometimes, and I don't wanna have to do all that work of taking them off the wall every time. That being said, the way these are set up, it makes it very easy to take off the wall, because the back here has this nice hole where you can put a nail in or a screw if you want it to be more permanently on the wall. And then it has this kind of catch for that screw, so you can just pop it down a little bit and pull it out, which is what I do if I need to take them off the wall for repotting purposes or anything like that. So I'll show you on this bottom one, philodendron down here. I just pull them off the wall. There's a little teeny tiny screw back there. I don't think you'll be able to see it on the viewfinder, but there she is in all her glory, and then I just stick them back on the wall. So I make sure they're lined up with that screw, and then I make sure they're anchored on there, so they're kind of latched in there by pulling on the bottom a little bit. And then if I need to, which now that the plants have filled out a little bit more, I used to make sure they were all perfectly aligned by standing on the other side of our living room, but now I don't care as much because the plants themselves kind of cover up all those little mistakes. But yeah, that's essentially our living wall. It's really, really easy. That's why I chose these planters. They are not like the most terribly pleasing planters you could buy for this kind of purpose, but they get the job done and they're affordable. They're plastic, by the way. Every component of it is plastic, including this black part, except for that cord, of course. And you do have to supply your own nails or screws, whatever you want to use to anchor them to the wall. They can get a little bit heftier than I thought with a full load of soil. So I'm not sure if I would go the command hook route, if that is what you need to do for your apartment purposes. If you do that, I wouldn't use just the command strips on the back. I would use one of the anchoring hooks that maybe holds at least 16 pounds of weight. I always overdo it with the command strips just in case, because you never know. But very easy to get up and move around and all of that stuff. So yeah, that is our living wall. It's been doing really well for us so far. I am going to insert a few photos and link a few other options for you. Some of you might want to go a little bit more of an expensive route with this. They make some really nice wrought iron rings that you can put terracotta pots in for your wall. They make other modules that hang from the ceiling and kind of come down. If you watched my IKEA video, you might remember I think it was called the Bittergurka, will hang down and kind of give that living wall look. And there's also a company, and I cannot remember the name of it, that makes eco-friendly planters that hang on your wall that are longer, and they have a really good vent system on them, just like that black part of the planter does, so the plant's roots can breathe and vent the water really easily, or drain the water really easily. Cannot remember what they're called. I want to say it starts with a W, but I'll insert them there. They also have an Instagram page, but they do get pretty pricey as far as wall-mounted gardening goes. Now, I do think that company would be fantastic for indoor gardening if you were doing some sort of vegetable wall mount system in your home, or herb garden in your home. And I think these would be really great for in or outside of your house. If you have a patio area that would make a nice spot on a wall maybe for some gardening with herbs and things like that to keep critters out, these would be perfect for that. So I'll link a couple of other options as well. But hopefully that helped you if you're kind of looking to make a little jungle in your home, or if you're running out of floor space, you want to keep pets or other animals away from your food. If it's outside or inside, you can go up the walls with it. So get a little more creative about where you're putting your plant pots. So hopefully this helped. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll be updating you with pictures of the wall. This corner does get a little tricky with taking photos and filming and things like that, so sorry if they look a little wonky as far as that goes. It's just a strange corner of my house. But thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next Sunday.